Hey there nation, welcome to the show. We help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander CheapSkate, and now it's time for another edition of Age of Mordheim. This is our series of Warhammer Age's Sigmar battle reports that is using a Mordheim campaign series of rules that was created by Vince Venturella and his gaming group. This is battle report number 3 of that series. It is a blood in the street scenario that is fought between my friend Death with his Esoteric Order, the Thousand Sons, versus my other friend King Khalifa of the Schwarzwald Free Companies. So this time we're looking at two warbands, Chaos Legion warband versus the Ironsides of Nuln warband. We'll see exactly how these two kind of throw it down with might versus magic versus gunpowder. So it's be kind of interesting to see exactly how that one kind of plays out as well. I apologize ahead of time for you guys for not having any content going on last week. I had a really bad cold and made voiceovers and narrations impossible for my battle reports, but I'm much better now. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get this army list get rolling here in a second. If you want to see exactly what we have for each of the army lists, please feel free to pause and do that, take a look at your own leisure. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let's get this on. Alright, so with the army list now over with, let's go ahead and talk about the scenario rules for this one. This is a blood in the street scenario, and pretty much it's just like a gang fight type scenario between two different warbands, like you would in Necromunda, except for this is Mordheim and they're just fighting each other. The objective of the scenario is to be the last warband standing, and you do it one of two ways. Either one, you completely destroy your enemy warband, or you end up routing it and making them flee out the table as well. And just like with all the scenarios, there are experience points bonuses for this, plus 1 experience point for each hero and troop that survives the engagement. You also get plus 1 experience points for the victorious warband leader for the scenario. Also plus 1 point for any out of action a hero makes against an enemy troop or hero choice. You also get plus 2 experience points for heroes that take out 5 enemies or more with out of action results in this battle report, and also 3 XP if you manage to pick all of your enemies out of action before any warband routes or flees either. And of course there's also bonuses with games like money and things of that nature as well. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let's head straight to deployment on this one. Alright, so now it's time for deployment. As you can see, my friends are fighting on a 4x4 table. They got various buildings as well as forts scattered throughout the ruined streets of Mordheim. My buddy King Khalifa and the Schwarzwald Free Companies are deployed on the far side of the board, while my buddy Death as well as his Esoteric Order, the Thousand Sons, are deployed on the near side of the table. So with that being said, let's go ahead and go into each of the deployment areas and talk about exactly where everything is located at. Alright, here's the deployment for the Esoteric Order, the Thousand Sons. As you can see, my buddy Death just kind of did a straight up line type of formation for his deployment. On the far right hand side, that is Squakalikos, the Ward of Pathways. That's his warband leader, is also Demon Prince. He's also got 2 Chaos Knights as well as the Doom Rider, which is his hero, who's also a Chaos Knight as well, with his 2 members of the Second Sons. Up there in the front, you have 5 members of the Chanters of Change. Those are 5 Chaos Marauders that are led by Sekenre the Illuminator. That's their chieftain, who's also a character as well. Right behind him in the back, you also got two more heroes as well. You have Svarthal, the weakest, who is the Chaos Wizard as well. He's on the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side, you have Alcold Hellbrass, the Champion of Sneech as well. And you also got 2 Chaos Warriors from the Storm Lords. So that pretty much makes it my friend's deployment on this one. Meanwhile, on the other side of the table, this is King Khalifa's Schwarzwald Free Companies. He basically divided up his forces into two different forces, one on the left-hand flank and one on the right-hand flank. On the left-hand flank, he's got his Panzer Baron, which is his steam tank, followed by 4 halberdiers of the Yellow Company. Right behind them, of course, is Sergeant Geist. That's his sergeant, who's also a hero, who's also a state militiaman, who's also armed with a halberd as well. So that makes up the left-hand flank for the Schwarzwald Free Companies. And meanwhile, on the right-hand flank is where all of King Khalifa's shooting elements are located at. Starting on the left-hand side, you have Blitzen, that's his Hellblaster volley gun. Right up front, of course, you got the members of the Blue Company. Those are 4 handgunners with Sergeant Metzger. That guy is the sharpshooter's armed with a Hochland long rifle. He's like their little leader as well. Right in the back, of course, you have his general of his warband. That's Gretchen von Königsmark. She's a master engineer armed with a Hochland long rifle. On the far right-hand side, of course, a gold wizard. That guy is Maximilian Max as well. And so that makes up the shooting elements of King Khalifa's army on this one. So with deployment over with, let's go directly to the top of turn number 1, and both my friends roll for initiative to see exactly who goes first. Alright, so my buddy O'Death managed to steal the initiative on this one. We skip the recovery phase because no one has been injured yet, no need to take route phases, and we go straight to the hero phase. The very first thing that my buddy decides to do is do a couple of things. He first uses his command trait that his general has, which basically lets these guys reroll combat rolls if they manage to get within charging distance within enemy units as well. So that's what the little skull icon represents there on the right hand side. At the same time, his wizard's fall far the weakest also casts arcane shielding onto the Doom Rider, which is the champion of that unit as well, so that guy gets +1 to his save. And that pretty much makes the hero phase on this part. From there, we jump directly to the move phase. As you can see in this photo, my buddy O'Death decides to advance as quickly as he possibly can across the battlefield. After all, he is a Chaos Legion warband, and it's up to him to try to get in close combat as quickly as possible, because if he kind of stays out there in the open and doesn't really engage my buddy King Khalifa, he'll just get shot to pieces by those Empire handgunners as well as the steam tank and Hellblaster volley gun. So you can see, starting on the right hand side, he managed to fly up forward, Skrkalikos, the Ward of Pathways, puts him right behind that little that house there on the right hand side so that he doesn't get hit by the Hellblaster volley gun. At the same time, he also maneuvers his Chaos Knights as well as a Doom Rider behind that center orange roofed house, so that way they're also protected from firing as well. At the same time, all of his infantry units, all of his infantry heroes, as well as troop choices, advance forward through the forest on the left-hand side, using the tower to kind of shield themselves from oncoming fire as well. So here is a close-up of his right-hand elements of his cavalry as well as his Demon Prince getting ready to pounce in onto those long-range shooting elements of King Khalifa's right-hand flank, looking like they're trying to flank that army and then sweep to the left. And at the same time, here's a close-up of my buddy O'Death's infantry forces on the left-hand flank, taking cover behind that tower and trying to put some pressure on the left-hand flank as well. And that pretty much makes up all of turn 1 for the Chaos Legion. There is no shooting because it's a Chaos army. There is no combat or battle shock phase. So that being said, we go directly to the bottom of turn number 1 for the Empire. Sorry, not for the Empire. The Ironsides of Nuln Warband. Alright, so just because just like last turn there was no real need to do a recovery phase, we skip the recovery phase and go directly to the hero phase. As you can see in this photo, what ends up happening is that my buddy King Khalifa decides to use Inspiring Presence onto the leader of the handgunner unit, that's Sergeant Metzger. That's the guy who's armed with a Hochland long rifle, so that way his bravery can be used by his troop choices in case anything should happen to these guys in the next corresponding phases. He does try to cast Arcane Shield, sorry, not Arcane Shielding, Final Transmutation with his wizard against the General Skrkalikos, the Ward of Pathways, but unfortunately for my buddy King Khalifa, he was unable to successfully get that spell off of his rolls. And that pretty much makes the hero phase on this part. So with hero phase on the right hand side, I apologize. And that's because over here on the left-hand side, the Panzer Baron decides to use more steam, use more pressure ability that the tank has during the hero phase, and where they can generate more steam points. That way he can reroll any random value he wants to during any movement of the steam tank as well. So he managed to get that one off successfully as well. And that's why we got the little hit icon for that artillery dice right next to the steam tank to represent the fact that they can, use the reallocate a randomly rolled choice for the next turn onward. So with the hero phase over, we go directly to the movement phase. And as you can see from the top of the page, not really much moves really quickly for his army, for King Khalifa. After all, he is an Empire army with the Ironsides and Nuln. These guys are meant for shooting, so his movement is actually very minimal. The first thing that he manages to do is with his right-hand forces, he kind of musters them right between the right before that duplex house that's right there on the top of the map. On the right-hand side, he moves up his Hellblaster volley guns and positions them in such a way that he can actually open fire with that thing against the Demon Princes located on the right-hand side as well. And then right between after that, he moves up his steam tank as well. And between the steam tank as well as Hellblaster volley gun, my buddy King Khalifa makes a firing line with his Empire handgunners, his engineer as well as his wizard right between them as well. And at the same time, he also moves up his Empire halberdiers to the force to kind of protect the left-hand flank of his formation. So right now he's bringing all of his guns to bear. It looks like right into the Demon Prince as well as the Chaos Knights as well as some of the Chaos Marauders that could be within line of sight of that steam tank. So things are looking pretty interesting for the Chaos Warband here in a second. And as you can see, here's a real close-up of the warband getting ready to open fire during the shooting phase as well, bringing up all their guns to bear as well. So this could be absolutely devastating for my buddy Odeth. Things go very poorly for him. So with the movement phase over, we go directly to the shooting phase. And right off the bat, with the combined fire of the Hellblaster volley gun from Blitzen, as well as a couple of shots from the marksman armed with the Hochland long rifle, as well as King Khalifa's General Gretchen von Konigsmark firing with their Hochland rifle, they actually have put enough wounds onto the Demon Prince or actually put him out of action, actually. Not only did they wound him and put this guy down, but when my buddy Odeth rolled to see exactly what happened from the injury, he rolled out of action. So because of that, this poor Demon Prince will have to roll off on the serious injury table to see exactly what happens to him at the end of the scenario. And to make things even worse, what ended up happening is my buddy King Khalifa took aim with his steam tank and aimed it directly at the Second Sons. He managed to put both those guys out of action as well with a combination of both the steam gun as well as the cannon that the steam tank was packing. He also, I think, managed to put a wound, the last remaining wound, on one of the characters using the Hochland long rifle that the engineer could use on top of the steam tank as well. And unfortunately for my buddy King Khalifa, when he rolled the injury on those two guys, they ended up rolling 6s on that part. So because of that, those guys automatically got out of action too, even with the included buff from the Arcane Shielding. My buddy's just having a really bad string of luck. My buddy Odeth was rolling 6s like I was going out of style, so because of that, those true choices will need to roll up at the injury table to see exactly what happens to those guys as well. So with the end of the shooting phase, there is no close combat phase because no one's engaged, and there is no battle shock phase for any of the units because anybody who does take a battle shock phase is off the table. So with that being said, we go directly to the top of turn number 2, and my two friends roll off for initiative to see exactly who goes first. And unfortunately for my buddy Odeth, King Khalifa gets to go first for turn number 2. So as you see that, we skip the recovery phase because the Schwarzwald Free Companies haven't taken any losses whatsoever. And during the hero phase, as you can see in this little photo, a couple things into happening. Gretchen von Konigsmark uses the ability for her command ability, which allows infantry units to retreat after they get charged, so that way they can charge again in the following turn. She had the Cunning Plan command ability. She puts that off onto her handgunners, so that way they can use that in the next turn as well. And she also uses more steam onto her steam tank as well because he hasn't lost any wounds yet, and that guy can now re-roll any one random value of King Khalifa's choice. At the same time, he does try to cast Fountain Transmutation again with her with his wizard against the Chanters of Change, which are right next to the tower, but unfortunately for him, he was unable to secure the casting value for that one as well. So with the hero phase over, we go directly to the movement phase. And as you can see in this photo, my buddy King Khalifa starts taking advantage of the situation and starts moving a couple of his forces forward. The first thing he does, he rambles up forward the steam tank, the Panzerbaron, to go directly right into the center of town as well. So that way within range of his steam gun, as well as his great cannon of all the infantry units on the left-hand side, as well as the Doom Rider there on the right-hand side. He also moves up his halberdiers up gingerly to kind of protect the left-hand flank of the steam tank as well, right behind the tower. For the rest of the shooting elements, not much movement really happens, because they're in a pretty good position where they can still put down overwatching fire onto the infantry units with the handgunners as well as the Hellblaster volley gun. So if another successful round of shooting takes place for the Ironsides and Nuln, it could be the very end for my buddy Odeth with his warband on this part. So that pretty much makes the move phase on this half. And here's a close-up of the movement. As you can see there, you can see the halberdiers kind of moving up right on the left-hand side behind the tower because he really didn't get a very good angle from the overhead shot earlier. And that makes the move phase with that. So with the move phase over, we go directly to the shooting phase. And as you can see from the shooting phase, it absolutely was devastating for my buddy O'Death on this part. So let's go and talk about exactly what happened. First of all, he used the Panzerbearer's engineer, he had him use his Hochland long rifle as well as his repeating pistol, and opened up on the Doom Rider. Managed to put 3 wounds on that guy as well, putting that guy down. And when my buddy O'Death rolled to see exactly what happened to him, he rolled another 6. Because of that, that guy goes immediately out of action, and he has to roll off on the table as well. The next thing he decides to do is take aim with his steam cannon, opens fire on Accold Hellbrass. Sorry, not Accold Hellbrass. On Schwarzwald the weakest was the wizard. Not only did he manage to wound that guy as well and put that guy down, when my buddy O'Death had to roll for an injury, he rolled another 6 because my buddy O'Death was just rolling out of the box when it came to the 6s on this part. So because of that, he goes out of action. He only need to roll off the injury table as well. And then of course he cut loose with the steam gun. The steam gun also killed a bunch of the chaos. I believe we killed all the marauders. Ended up putting all those guys out of action as well, just cooking them alive with the hot steam from that part. So it was absolutely devastating. And the guys didn't get cooked for the steam gun. I think there's only 2 of them left. They failed their bravery test and they took off for the hills. As for the 2 remaining Chaos Warriors, as well as the Accold Hellbrass, the Champion Sneech, the Hellblaster Volley Gun took care of those Chaos Warriors, put those guys out of commission, so those guys went away. I think one went out of action, the other one took off from lack of a bravery test. And then of course Accold Hellbrass got shot to pieces by both the engineer, the engineering general, as well as the marksman firing the Hochland long rifles, able to put down that guy as well. So Accold Hellbrass went out of action as well, and he will have to roll for the injury table. So things were absolutely terrible for my buddy O'Death in this shooting phase. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that takes us directly to the end of the game because of all the shooting that took place. It was absolutely devastating for my buddy O'Death and absolutely victorious for my buddy King Khalifa. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go directly to the post-game and talk about what happened to each of the warbands and exactly what ended up happening for their fates, as well as experience points, merchants, recruitments, and all that good jazz. Alright, first of all, let's go and talk about the post-game for the Esoteric Order of the Thousand Suns. So, when it comes to the injuries for these guys, unfortunately for my buddy O'Death, almost all of his heroes and all of his troop choices had to roll on the injury table. First of all, for Squarkalikos, the Warden of Pathways, he had suffered a physical injury when he rolled the dice to see exactly to him. He becomes hardened is what ended up happening with his physical injury, so because of that, it makes him immune to taking break tests and bravery tests for the rest of the campaign because he's just that tough. Svarval the Weakest also suffered a mental injury, and when he rolled up on the table to see exactly what happened to him, Svarval the Weakest actually suffered from madness, and he earned the Frenzy special rule, which means he gets +1 to all of his attacks for the rest of the campaign as well. So because of that, not so bad in terms of injuries for his heroes so far. As for Sikenre the Illuminator, as well as the Doom Rider, both those guys rolled miraculously no injury because my buddy O'Death was rolling out of the box with 6s on this battle report. However, he did lose a couple of guys. He lost one of his Chanters of Change, so because of that, his Chaos Marauders dropped by 1, and also he lost one of his Stormlords as well, so one of his Chaos Warriors is also out as well. For advancements, my buddy O'Death did not gain the advancements during this time because he got hurt pretty bad. When it came for the exploration, he got 5d6 when he rolled all 5 of those to see exactly what happened. He rolled 3 1s, a 2, and as well as 2 4s. In the end, that allowed him to find 2 weird stones, which garnered him 55 gold crowns. And as a part of the exploration, he found a Chaos Warrior, recruited him into his Stormlords, so that way that he has kind of recomp the loss of the warrior they lost earlier. For his recruits, he did spend gold crowns to recruit 2 more Warriors of Chaos for the Stormlords, and so because of that, now his unit's a little bit larger as well. The new record for this warband is at 0 wins and 1 loss, and their new warband rating now is at 106 points. Now then, as for the Schwarzwald Free Companies, when it came to the injuries, they suffered none of them because my buddy King Khalifa just dominated this one. And as for advancements, he actually had a couple members of his warband advance. Gretchen von Koenigsmark, the warband leader, guaranteed a +1 to wound with her Hochland long rifle, which makes it even deadlier now shooting at long targets. And same with the Panzerbearer, that thing was an absolute beast. It actually leveled up twice and earned +1 to hit with its cannon, as well as +1 damage with its steam guns. And now his steam gun causes 2 damage, which is absolutely terrifying to go up against. As for exploration, my buddy King Khalifa rolled 5d6 on this one. He rolled 1 1, a 3, as well as 3 5s. So because of that, he found 4 pieces of warstone that totaled up to 80 gold crowns. And in the process of exploration, he found a Demogryph Knight, which he recruited and added to his warband as well. For the merchant, he did spend money to recruit troops, and he placed the 40 remaining crowns into his treasury as well. In the end, he managed to hire 2 more handgunners for the Blue Company, as well as 2 more halberdiers for the Yellow Company as well. This warband's new rating now is at 1 well as well as 0 losses, and the new warband rating now is at 98 points. So that's going to do it for this one, ladies and gentlemen. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is invaluable as always. Also, check us out as we alternate between the weeks between Fantasy, which is this week. We'll be doing Age of Mordheim, as well as our Warhammer Mighty Empires campaign this week. And then next week we'll do Warhammer 40,000 with the Longest War, as well as our Necromunda Battle Reports with Necromunda the Underhive Wars. Please feel free to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Google+, as well as Facebook. We also have all those up as well. So as always, you guys, until the next one, you guys stay classy. We will catch you guys on the next one. Peace out, you guys.